I feel wonderful today, and I have wonderful news. I think I found the cure to depression. I spent the past 2 days kind of on a break from BDO. I felt like doing something else for a change, and I picked up reading manga once again, and let me tell you, I went from start to finish to an amazing story. Now I feel great, and here I am, I guess, to pick up where I left off with Orc Camp. I was supposed to cover this place like 4 or 5 days ago. That's how long the data was prepared. I just wasn't in the mood to make the video. But let's talk about it. If you're actually interested, I mean, the story I was reading is called Beginning After the End. It's a really good manhwa. If I recommend it. You're gonna have a good time with it if you at least want to try it out. But that's not the topic for today. Now, the topic is Orc Camp, so let's talk about that one. Pretty much the same format, the same review, experience, money per hour, values, Agris. I already forgot what I'm supposed to present, but yeah, the most expected, I would say, out of all of the Elvia areas. I gave you guys an entire month plus to grind this place until I'm eventually covering it, and then people are gonna complain, oh, you broke this spot as well, now it's extremely contested, and then 2 weeks later they are going to completely forget about it. So yeah, let's begin the discussions. First things first, as always, I'm still playing the exact same class. I still play Nova Awakening. I have roughly, or had, 285 AP with a pen CodeOfBrawl. I kept saying that in previous videos. It's pen, 1 black star weapon, and I believe 347-ish DP at the time of actually testing Orc Camp. These days my gear actually looks a lot different, but that's what I used for the Orc Camp test. In terms of my recommendations, I would say at the very least around 277 AP with a CodeOfBrawl. As entry level AP, of course, the more you have the better, and DP wise probably minimum 330-ish. Monsters do hit pretty hard. I personally would say I feel comfortable and safe at around 343 DP, but you can get by with less if you use Calcs and if you probably don't use Frenzies to lose even more DP. Basically, as long as the area's mechanic with a light is up, you don't really need that much DP, but it's much safer if you have more, obviously. And yeah, now let's talk about the mechanics and how Orc Camp works, if you don't already know that by now. I mean, again, it's been over a month. At this point, probably everyone knows how this place works, but if you don't, essentially this area has a lot of rotations. I might as well show you the rotation map first, because so I can explain later better. I was sent this map, I didn't make it, but as you can already tell, this place has at least 9 rotations, so that's huge, that's a huge advantage. Usually on any given server there's at least one of them empty. My understanding is rotations 1 through 4 are the better ones and the more contested ones, and 5 through 9 and 10 or 11, if there are other rotations, are considered the less efficient ones, and they are usually less contested. I personally grinded rotation number 8 in my first 2 hours, and then I transitioned to rotation number 7. Rotation number 7 was the main one I did for most of my hours, at least 8 hours or so. In the end, basically after a couple of hours I just got comfortable of doing rotation number 7, and that's the one I stuck to for most of my time. I will put it in the background exactly how I did rotation number 7. I know for a fact I'm doing it wrong. I know people are going to correct me in the comments and say you should do this, you should do that, you should ignore this pack, you should do this pack, but this is what I personally did. I will also be using an Elvia weapon in the clip in the background, keep that in mind. It's faster killing monsters and showing the rotation with an Elvia weapon. So now for the mechanic. Pretty much what you want to do is you look for the prisons, the small thingies, the red orc prisons. You kill 5 of those until you see the holy light of Jesus, and that's how you know you are on the right path. Essentially, I don't think you need 5, maybe you need 6, but you just kill those prisons, and at some point you're gonna see this huge light, and that thing basically weakens the monsters and allows you to grind a lot faster. It's very basic, honestly, that's just it. You go to a rotation on that map, in this case rotation number 7, you make the huge Light of Jesus that basically makes this spot brain dead, and that's literally it. You keep that up at all times and you're gonna have an easy time grinding. By now you probably already noticed the way I'm doing rotation number 7. I am combining two different areas, two different lights per se. I'm killing 5 of those cages twice, and I did this with and without an Elvia weapon. If you have an Elvia weapon, you pretty much have to do this because you need the extra packs because you're killing too fast, but if you don't have an Elvia weapon, what I noticed from most people is that they prefer to only pop one light area and stay within that one. And someone told me they also pull packs from outside of the area inside of the light area. The packs are a little bit weird. Some of them seem to be outside of the light, but in fact they are inside. The line of the circle, of the light circle, doesn't seem to end exactly where the animation is. But technically, if you want more packs, you can pull them from outside in, something I personally never did. I always preferred to kill packs one by one. The main reason why I did 2 light areas always is because there's 3 violence, 3 wizards, elites per each of these light zones, and I figured if I have 2 of them, if I have 6 elites, then it's probably better for the drops, the Seed of Void and the other rare items, so I always had 6 violence. When I had an Elvia weapon, I preferred to skip a couple of packs at times just so I can kill the violence faster, basically almost on their respawn time. And when I didn't have the weapon, I may or may not skip some packs, but generally I still did the same big rotation. The violence, the wizards have just one other mechanic. Sometimes you will see a red message on the screen and they will try to charge some kind of skill to cancel your Holy Light of Jesus. Basically just kill the wizards as fast as possible, and that's pretty much it. They never really did anything for me because it takes them ages to cast that skill, but basically don't give them the time to finish it. I don't know if the entire light area gets destroyed, but something, at least part of it will probably, one of the cages will probably go away. Other than that, this place also has a boss, which I forgot to touch on. The boss is just like any of the other ones, it spawns randomly and it has a higher chance to spawn an Elvia weapon when he dies. It's rather tanky-ish, I suppose. It's basically boss stats, similar to the one at Vogan's, so it's a bit tankier and hits harder, but other than that, nothing really spectacular. He spawns pretty rarely, at least for me. It's not always 1 per hour, so keep that in mind. And turn on Agris for all of the bosses, at the very least for the boss, something I personally never did for any of the hours because I forgot I was supposed to. The area is rather contested-ish. Compared to Bloody Monastery, it's in my opinion just as contested, but the biggest advantage Orc Camp has, as I mentioned earlier, it has at least 9 rotations, a lot of them. On this rotation number 7, I never really had any duel for spot, but I'm kind of, people recognize me every now and then. I did get away a couple of times because people recognized me. I would say if you pick rotations maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, there shouldn't be that much competition for them, but obviously prepare for duel for spot if you plan to grind the better rotations, or even on rotation 7. So keep in mind, yeah, it's rather contested-ish. Other than that, I guess let's look at the numbers. Money per hour first, as always. So this is the result, the outcome, the experience table. Easy answer, 160-ish million silver if you decide to save the Black Star armor materials, around 280-ish million silver per hour if you sell those as well. Again, if you're familiar with previous videos. If not, then explanation goes like this. Picture what I got from 10 hours and 10 minutes of grinding. Basically these are all of the items, everything that drops from this place. The breakdown for my trash, I started with a bunch of half-an-hour sessions because it was a lot more convenient and basically comfortable to grind just half-an-hour loot scrolls, so I tried my best to make them look okay the first 3-ish hours. This one, 40 minutes, is my Agris test, where I had Agris enabled for the entire hour. I managed to burn literally 97,000 points, like almost all of my points in just 40 minutes, so this area is very Agris hungry, that's why it's only 40 minutes. I don't recommend you to do this. In fact, I was recommended by pretty much everyone in existence to only use Agris for bosses for all of the Elvia areas, something I forgot to mention in previous reviews. Always turn on Agris for the boss and just that's it, but you know, consistency. I tried an entire hour and it didn't work. Hour 5, my experience run, about 6.1 thousand with no weapons and just one boss. You could say it's a bit slow, but yeah, experience test. And the weapons that I dropped, 0, 1, 2. In most hours it was at the very least one weapon, some of them 2. I had one with 3, but that's pretty much it. I would say it's pretty average for most of the Elvia spots. It doesn't seem to drop weapons like candy, is what I'm trying to say. Other than that, these in lighter green are taxed with a market return, the other ones are not taxed, and yeah, repeating myself, 160 million silver per hour if you save the materials needed to enhance your Black Star armor, if you plan to ever do that, and 280 or so if you sell them. I averaged 7.2, 7.3 thousand trash with a blue loot scroll and a Kamasive blessing from my 10 hours. In terms of what you should expect, at least from rotation number 7, I these days get 6.5-ish thousand trash with no weapons whatsoever, between 6 and 6.5 thousand. If I have only one weapon drop in an entire hour, usually it's 7.5-ish thousand. That's kind of what I get these days. 7.5 thousand with one weapon, and with 2 weapons I guess I could try my best to approach 8,000. It only happened once, 8.4 thousand was my best, but ideally you kind of want more. I don't know how to put this. My trash per hour is a bit lower than what other people are reporting, probably because of the way I'm doing the rotation. So keep in mind, you should expect around 7.5 thousand with one weapon, 8,000 plus if you have 2 weapons and you grind the place properly. I've heard reports of other people saying they are getting constantly 8,000 plus trash, so it's just something for me to improve on. And if that's the case, then this place could easily be a very consistent 300 million silver per hour with just a blue loot scroll, but this is my result. Moving on, we have experience and skill points. Whether or not you should pick this place to try to level up as fast as possible. Once again, level 61 is what I used to test this place. You already know that for sure. So where is it? I am kind of blind, I don't see it there. Orc camp with 0 weapons. This was my baseline test where I actually tested the place. It's not great, but it's not bad either. It's pretty much Sikraya level of experience. My Sikraya test, I guess these days could also be faster with the better gear, but this is where it lands in my chart. If you get around 6.2, let's say, thousand trash per hour. Again, this is no weapons at all, rotation number 7. If you do have one weapon drop here, and I estimated about 7.5 thousand trash per hour. These days, most people, again, they are reporting easily getting 7.5 thousand trash per hour. Then this is kind of the experience you're looking at. Around Biragi, then fast level of experience, around Fogans, it's definitely still below Bloody Monastery. I was still getting more experience at Bloody Monastery. Even with 2 weapons, even estimating a very fast 8.5 thousand trash for Orc Camp, I'm still not reaching Bloody Monastery. So my conclusion, experience-wise, this place, despite having the same requirements gear-wise as Bloody Monastery, it's less experience than that. So unless the last area I have to cover, the castle ruins, unless that one can beat Bloody Monastery, then this one will remain the best experience spot on the Elvia areas. So that's kind of the story for experience. Skill points, it's pretty much as you may have expected. All of the Elvia spots are underwhelming for skill points. This one is the baseline, 0 weapons. So again, really bad, pretty much at the bottom of my chart for skill points. The estimation, 7,500 trash with 1 Elvia weapon, and again 8,500 trash, kind of my estimation with 2 Elvia weapons. It's overall just bad skill points. Even if you look at the other Elvia areas, most of them have better skill point rate. So experience and skill points here are just a bit underwhelming. Experience is fine, skill points is blech, but I was honestly looking forward to this place rivaling Bloody Monastery, which it's definitely not. It's good, but it's not Bloody Monastery. And for the last one, last stop, Agris efficiency, the Agris charts. This one, it's really odd. It's so out of the ordinary. Originally when I tested this and I saw that I burned in literally 40 minutes all of my points, I said this will probably be the least efficient out of all of the areas. It's just burning points way too fast. It is at the top of the chart in terms of points used per hour. You're looking at probably around 150,000 points per hour, which you don't even have, so it's impossible to grind this place 1 hour with Agris enabled. Again, to repeat myself, you should only use Agris for the boss, but this is just looking at an entire hour with Agris. This one is with 2 weapons, the other ones are somewhere here as well, if you can find them. Actually no, there's no other estimations because I only tested it once, and I did drop 2 Elvia weapons in those 40 minutes. I believe I used those 2 Elvia weapons combined for about 12 minutes in total because they overlapped, so that's why I marked this one as 2 weapons over the course of an entire hour. In terms of efficiency, the second chart, this one, ideally a spot here should be as high up as possible. It should use the least amount of points to make the most amount of silver in return. Again, this is kind of why people recommend Thornwood every single time, because it's a very efficient spot. I recently found out Elvia imps are also very efficient, and to my surprise, Orc Camp is actually not as bad as I thought. Again, I really thought this place will be extremely inefficient, but it turns out it just simply burns points very fast. That's just it. I think it burns 65 points per monster, which is the most out of all of the areas, but in terms of efficiency, it's the same as Naga's, pretty much around the same as most high-end areas. You have Elvia Nagas, Orc Camp, Sikraya, the high-end place, Vogans, Biragi Den, they are all pretty much the same-ish efficiency. So turns out, if you really want to throw away your points in like 40 minutes, this is the place to do it. If you want to get rid of your Agris, I would recommend Orc Camp for an entire hour. You're definitely making the silver, from those points. It's not a waste. It's the fastest burning place in the game currently. So there you have it. Now that's pretty much the story of Orc Camp. Oh yeah, in terms of speed, it was estimated around 17,000 trash per hour with the blue loot scroll and the Agris for an entire hour. So keep that in mind. A lot of you will grind faster. A lot of you will burn these points in maybe even half an hour because, better rotations and stuff like that. So ending thoughts, Orc Camp was in the experience sense a bit disappointing, but in everything else I actually quite like the place. It's not really that hard to grind once you get the mechanic with the light and everything. It's very easy. It's not as contested as I expected. I understand why everyone just praises this place for being so good, because you make most of your money from just trash and sellable items, so very easy to get by around the marketplace and price fluctuations. And with 9 or more rotations, even if you don't find any empty, you can swap servers and most likely one of them will be empty. And it's not as dual for spots. Basically, even if you lose a duel for SPOTUM or something like that, it's much easier here to find a place to grind compared to the other ones that have maybe 3 or 4 rotations at most. So I quite like it in that sense. I will return here for sure. I mean, I already am back to Orc Camp testing something else for a different idea, which kind of involves a yellow loot scroll. In most of the Helvia spots, you should kind of grind with a yellow loot scroll, not with a blue one. So I'm kind of looking at that as well. Basically, I'm trying to break this spot as well, like I did with Bloody Monastery, and I wanna see if this one can reach 500 million silver as well or not. So, you know, subscribe and all of that to receive notifications for that video. In any case, I will leave it at that. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you learned something. I will go back and try to find some other manhwa to read, and until next time, stay happy and hope to see you around, I guess. Bye bye.